Either, but it's already set. Bueno, son varios de mañana. I'll bring it up.
Does it hit you over the head? Can I be?
Probably drink some coffee, so I can make sure I'm hyper focused.
¿Qué te pusiste o qué quitas? Le pregunté que un tal vez. No, yo no tengo puesto porque tú sabes.
Good evening. It is now 5:05 in the afternoon. Notice of a public meeting of the City Commission of the City of Brownsville pursuant to Chapter 551, Title 5 of the Texas Government Code, the Texas Open Meetings Act. Notice is hereby given that the City Commission of the City of Brownsville, Texas, in accordance with Article 5, Section 12 of the Charter of said city, will convene a regular meeting on September the 5th, 2023 at 5 p.m. in the City Commission chambers located on the second floor of Brownsville City Hall, Old Federal Building located at 1001 East Elizabeth Street, Brownsville, Cameron County, Texas. Pursuant to Section 551.127 Texas Government Code, one or more commissioners or employees may attend this meeting remotely using video conferencing technology. The video and audio feed of the video conferencing equipment can be viewed and heard by the public at the address posted above at the location of the meeting. Members of the public, employees, and of the City Commission may join via WebEx teleconference by logging on our city's website. Members of the public who submitted a public comment form may be permitted to offer public comments as provided by the agenda and as permitted by the presiding officer during the meeting. A recording of the meeting will be made and will be available to the public in accordance with the Open Meetings Act. Mayor, it is now 5:06 p.m. We do have a quorum present. You may now call the meeting to order.
Thank you, Griselda. I hereby call this meeting to order.
Next on the agenda, we have the invocation. If everyone would please stand.
Father Nicholas Harding from the cathedral. In 1 Kings in the Bible, remember, the Lord appeared to Solomon in a dream and said, ask anything and I will give it to you. And so he said, give your servant an understanding heart to judge and distinguish right from wrong, for who is able to govern this people of yours? So Lord granted him. And then in the Catholic Christian Bible, in the book of Wisdom, chapter 7, it goes into detail what exactly wisdom involves, and that's what we're praying for you all. Therefore, I prayed, and prudence was given me. I pleaded, and the spirit of wisdom came to me. In her is a spirit intelligent, holy, unique, manifold, agile, clear, unstained, certain, loving the good, keen, beneficent, kindly, firm, secure, tranquil, all-powerful, all-seeing. For wisdom is mobile beyond all motion and penetrates and pervades all things by reason of her purity. For she is an aura of the might of God, and she teaches moderation, prudence, justice, and fortitude. She produces friends of God so that the people will govern all things well. Almighty God, as we gather, we thank you for the opportunity to be servants for the citizens in Brownville and stewards of the resources with the great responsibility of making wise decisions, discernment, not just based on purely logical, but also as would be dictated by artificial intelligence, rather involving the heart and faith. Give us all a spirit of being servants with humility, listening respectfully to one another and to our citizens, keeping in mind the common good, not just the interests of a few. We recognize, Lord, that the common good is based on respect for the fundamental rights of the human person. Secondly, prosperity. And third, peace and security, so that our policies always take into account that the human being is the principle, the subject, and the end of all government institutions. We want to work for order and protection in Brownsville, founded on the truth, built up in justice, animated by love. as we just celebrated with Labor Day, help us to promote just wages and working conditions, eliminate unjust discrimination, help us always to be balanced with equilibrio in discerning new regulations in order to avoid excessive intervention by government, which can threaten personal freedom and initiative. So let us respect subsidiarity. And may our policies always support families to help form this city as a community of little communities. Help us always respect the environment, integrity of creation, and always be mindful for the full development of human society in Brownsville, especially education, care for the elderly, not just physical health, but mental health. And we might always have unity, harmony, speaking the truth, honestly, with openness, in a spirit of dialogue. We need each other as a team with different gifts to be interdependent. And we always have a concern for the most needy, poor, and vulnerable, including solidarity with our sister city, Matamoros. We pray that our citizens always take an active part in public life, collaborate, and take seriously their duty to be informed and participate in our planning and mission. And we ask this through Christ our Lord, in the name of the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit.
Texas flag. Mayor, for the record, we'd like to mention that Commissioner Rose Gowen is on virtually.
Thank you.
Next on the agenda, we have proclamations. The first proclamation is recognizing Jesus Garcia, a revival of cultural arts Roca scholar. Will be read by Commissioner Martinez.
Thank you. Good evening. May I have Jesus Garcia and his family please come forth? A proclamation of the City Commission of Brownsville, Texas, recognizing Jesus Garcia, a revival of cultural arts scholar. Whereas Jesus Garcia was born on May 7, 2009 in Brownsville, Texas, the only son out of 6 children, in a family which exhibits great enthusiasm for education with regard to their children. And whereas Jesus Garcia is currently active in our community, promoting cultural arts as a member of the Mariachi Diamante, Ballet Folclórico, and Conjunto Victoria with the revival of cultural arts at the George Ramirez Performing Arts Academy. And whereas Jesus Garcia is also civically and academically driven, excelling not only in school as a student at Stillman Middle School, but also engaging in the National Civics Bee competition, an annual competition organized by the Civic Trust, an initiative of the U.S. Chamber of Commerce Foundation that encourages young Americans to engage in civics and contribute to their communities. It includes the participation of 6th through 8th graders who exhibit their civics knowledge versus their peers for a chance to win recognition and cash prizes. And whereas Jesus Garcia qualified as a finalist in the Brownsville National Civics Bee in this spring and advanced to the state held in Dallas, Texas in August of 2023, where he finished in 3rd place out of all finalists from competing states. And whereas Jesus Garcia is an inspiration in our community as an advocate for the arts, a seeker of greater knowledge about his Mexican-American cultural heritage, and a civically minded academic with hopes to attend the University of Texas at Austin and study engineering in order to continue to demonstrate great dedication and honor as a product of Brownsville, Texas. Now, therefore, we the members of the Commission of the City of Brownsville, Texas, by virtue of the authority vested by charter of said city, and on behalf of our citizens, do hereby recognize Jesus Garcia and his exemplary commitment to culture, community, and education, and further call upon the residents of Brownsville to do the same by being inspired by the accomplishments of Jesus Garcia and inspiring others to do the same and greater levels of success, done on this 5th day of September 2023.
Good afternoon, Honorary Mayor John Cowan and City Commissioners. I would like to take this time to thank all of those who have helped me along the way. I would like to thank my family, Ms. Ida Ledesma, friends, and the National Civics Beat today. I would like to thank my parents who encouraged me to participate in the National Civics Beat and offered their unwavering support to both me and my siblings. I would also like to thank my sister, Alessandra Garcia, who helped me with my essay and also provided amazing advice throughout all of my life. I would like to take this time to also thank Ms. Ida Ledesma, who helped me with this opportunity and chance to meet all of you today. I would additionally like to thank my friends and family who are in the audience today. I would finally like to thank the National Civics Bee for hosting me and several other participants from Brownsville this year at the state competition in Austin. Thank you.
Next proclamation recognizing World Chronic Lymphomic Leukemia Day will be read by Commissioner Roy de los Santos.
A proclamation of the City Commission of Brownsville, Texas, recognizing World Chronic Lymphocytic Leukemia Day. Whereas chronic lymphocytic leukemia is a relatively rare form of cancer that is centered in the blood and bone marrow of an individual. Human blood is the fuel that provides energy to our bodies, and if that fuel is reduced in octane by an interrupted generation of healthy blood cells, profound fatigue is experienced by the person. By the mutation of the red blood cells, the human body also has a reduced ability to combat infections. And whereas the major target population of this illness centers on males, Caucasians, generally of the 60-plus age bracket, and whereas the total afflicted numbers within the United States annually range within the 20,000 individuals level, and whereas this form of cancer may be fatal and there is no known cure at present, however, there are medications available that arrest and or reasonably control the debilitating effects of this disease. And whereas a major area of discomfort that unfortunately is often endured by those who have contracted this disease extends from a failure of the public to understand the personal challenges that these individuals are having to manage. They are aware of certain losses of endurance and vitality, but the loss of personal dignity should not enter their world. As is the case with any physical or mental affliction, the support group of friends, family, and workplace individuals should broaden their awareness of these maladies and embrace the practice of treating all humans with dignity and compassion beyond the presence or absence of an illness. Now, therefore, we, the members of the City Commission of the City of Brownsville, Texas, by virtue of the authority vested by the charter of said city, and on behalf of all our citizens, do hereby recognize World Chronic Lymphocytic Leukemia Day, done this 5th day of September 2023.
It's only 153 pages long. I hope you don't mind. Please, first of all, let me apologize for an egregious act. What color am I wearing? White. Right? What was yesterday?
Labor Day.
Yeah, all right, but I don't listen. All right, that's good. Thank you so much for allowing me to speak with you today. I'm going to read this particular presentation that I have given of late to a body similar to yours on the very same subject matter. All right. Never in 1,000 years would I have thought that I would be in this spot as a poster child for CLL, chronic lymphocytic leukemia. But I take on these duties with pride and great dedication, as I hopefully have performed my tasks throughout my life. There are many of you here as commissioners and in this audience who have known me for quite some time, for a decade or more. There are even those whose families have known mine since the birth of Brownsville. And I'm referring to the Cowans in that particular. Okay. Surely you will remember a person that was forever active in myself, with boundless energies and always ready to stand for causes that were thought to be in the best interest of my beloved Brownsville, even stand for hopeless causes. Please remember that robust personality and continue to see me in the light. I may be a bit more frail, but I have not lost my mental faculties, nor have my dreams and aspirations been diminished. God has given our planet billions of cubic meters of oxygen, yet we, with CLL, have a hard time gasping for enough to walk across the room or the yard. It's the very truth. I have interviewed many people who have my same affliction since I became aware of my condition. It is abundantly clear in the majority of instances we don't die of CLL. Rather, we are more prone to die of a broken heart. That's the point I want to make today. Please allow me. The human species is famous for eating their wounded. That axiom is to be applied here in that it is so often a tendency for the public to perceive a cancer patient, whether it be one that has CLL or any other form of this malady, as being feeble, decrepit. And the automatic human response is to pass them by, throw them aside as a pair of old shoes. Our vitality may have suffered a hit, but God gifted us with an improved vision, whether it be a gift or a curse. We come to see the actions of those who surround us with greater clarity, whether it be in the form of the support group, of our immediate family, loved ones, or friends, or those who interact with us in the public or professional arena. We are going to pass in due time, as all of us are. Please allow us to carry out our missions with dignity and purpose. Build an awareness of what someone in this condition is challenged with, and don't handicap your own character and your own integrity with values that are frail, feeble, and decrepit. It's rather harsh. This is a serious subject. The oh my God moment faced me with the reality of, can I charge on with the same energy that I had before? Well, that's been answered by now. What I mentioned here about the failure in the public sector, God bless my family and friends, but say in the public sector, to not recognize, and that is the point I really want to emphasize here as an awareness, is that there is somebody that might be infirm. Don't roll over them, please. They have things to give our community. It is a statistic. I don't mean to be morbid, but with my particular affliction, there was a study done in the year, it ended in 2016. It was a 4-year period study that indicated that of the 8 million people that met their demise with cancer, in my age bracket, 40% of them committed suicide. I wonder why. I wonder if there was a support group that really stood by them and didn't just push them aside and say they're frail, because our minds are the ones that carry on with us, and we want so much to give for that period that we're capable of doing it. Thank you so much for allowing me to give what I've given to Brownsville and these chambers and others, and you can count on me to the very last moment to do so. Thank you.
Next, we have the public comment period as per section 2-26, meetings and agendas, public input during meetings, the conduct. Conversations between or among audience members should be conducted outside the meeting room. Attendings should refrain from conversations while commission is in session. Cell phones. Attendings must refrain from the operation and use of cellular telephones, pagers, etc., or any mechanical devices that may disrupt city commission proceedings. Place cards, banners, or signs are not permitted in the commission chambers or in any other room in which the city commission conducts a meeting. Included in this prohibition are various hats, caps, visors, and t-shirts which may represent sentiments as alluded to regarding play cards, banners, or signs. Exhibits, displays, and visual aids used in connection with the presentations to the city commission are permitted. Only city commission members and city staff may approach the dais. If report, letter, etc. is to be presented to the commission, it should be given to the city secretary or staff who will make the distribution. It is preferable that the item to be distributed be given to the city secretary prior to the meeting time. A copy of the item should be made available for the city secretary's official record. All comments shall be made to the mayor and city commission as a whole and not to an individual commission member. First person that we have for public comment is Yolanda Spies.
Good afternoon. My name is Yolanda Spies. When I invited you to lunch to tell you about how the Brownsville Police Department helped Samantha Natalie Vargas from 314 Palm Boulevard steal my German Shepherd Dobie because the Brownsville Police Department does not know the law, you brushed me off and told me to sue the city, knowing that an attorney would never help me because of qualified immunity. You know, that law that allows you and the police to break the law. You also would not let me pay for lunch because it would not look good on you to accept my lunch offer in exchange for your time. However,
Counselor, I have a point of order. She's addressing a you. That's to an individual. That doesn't seem like a comment to the entire commission.
commission, how do you think it's going to look as you all sit there and smile while I tell you that the police broke the law and you refuse to do anything about it to ensure that this does not happen to other Brownsville residents or worse? How does that look that you just smile for the camera rather than think to yourself that the city has a responsibility to its Brownsville residents despite qualified immunity? So what you stand for is that the Brownsville Police Department can act like thugs and bullies and break the law, and that you will complicitly smile and refuse to do anything. How do you think that looks as I make sure to tell anyone and everyone how you have opted to do nothing while the police continue to break the law and violate our rights, no matter how small the infraction, but can do it because of qualified immunity, and you refuse to do anything to mitigate it so no one else has to feel this pain or suffer this experience? By your complicity, you are saying that the police can break the law and violate our rights, and you will do nothing. You will smile as we are tortured and experience pain because you don't want to do anything about it. Qualified immunity is literally an excuse for breaking the law. Complicity is not okay either when you are being paid to serve us. If you allowed the police to break the law because they don't know the law and you aren't pushing for better training so they do, you are just as guilty, nay, you're worse. I really hope you sleep well at night knowing that our police are criminals with badges and you allow their behavior to continue. I really hope you remember this when you're up for re-election, because if not, I'm going to refresh your memory by letting your opponent know about your apathy. I hope you are concerned now. I am a concerned citizen and I came to you asking for help because now I'm paying you and you still refuse to help me.
Next, we have Mr. Ed Rivera. Please state your name for the record. You have 3 minutes.
Thank you. Name is Ed Rivera, and contrary to convention, I'm not here to complain about anything. I want to thank you for all the hard work that you selflessly do, and it is appreciated. I'm here. We initiated a process last month to effect what we consider to be better a governance platform for the airport. And we just want to make sure that we're front and center on your radar to keep you current on the progress that we've made. At our meeting last week, we did form an ordinance committee comprised of 3 people, myself, Javier Villarreal, and Pat Guillermo. And we hope to, in the next few weeks, to provide you, we'll be working with city attorneys and also all stakeholders to make sure that we provide you promptly with a proposed ordinance that will be satisfactory to all stakeholders. We do have a leadership void at the moment with Brian's departure. We lack a director at the moment. I know that we're going to initiate a search for a new director. There is an ongoing search process for an assistant director, and we've been invited to participate in that process. And so we really appreciate that. You know, Javier and I are here today because we're passionate about the airport and we're passionate about Brownsville. We're products of this community. And I just want to thank you again for giving us the opportunity to make it a better place. Thank you.
Next, we have Mr. Javier Villarreal. Please state your name. You have 3 minutes.
Good evening, Commissioners. Thank you for your hard work. I don't envy your position because you've got a lot of things that you have to overlook. Thankfully, Ed and I are focused on the airport, and we're here today to report about the airport. And I'm glad to say that we've been working diligently with our city manager, Helen Ramirez, to make sure that it's a smooth transition for the airport. Thank you, Mrs. Ramirez, for including us in the selection process of the new director. And I want to extend an invitation. I thought it was important to come up here today, Commissioners and Mayor. Next week, on September 13th, the FAA has extended an invitation to fly up to Dallas and meet with the director of the Southern Region, which is a pretty big deal. These are the people that give us the grants. These are the people that, gave us $10 million last year. And it would be a good idea, I think, very nice if some of the elected officials went up there next week. Again, I know you're extremely busy, but if perhaps, Mayor, if you could go, or a couple of commissioners could show up, especially in these times right now when there's a void, when we're hunting for a new assistant director and director, to have somebody go up there with us. Ed and I are going to go up there and meet Ignacio Flores, I think would go a long way. And finally, I'd like to invite the citizens of Brownsville, the citizens of the Valley, to start using Brownsville, to start using its airline, Avelo. I keep hearing, when you get on these boards, people are going, we need a parking lot, we need this, we need that. Well, it starts with participation by the citizens of Brownsville, of Harlingen and McAllen to come down here and start flying Avelo. I can tell you that for the last 20 years, we've had a corporate retreat for the office, and I've always been flying out of McAllen and Harlingen. Okay, this year, for the first time, we're going to be flying 40 people out of Brownsville in Avelo. And so again, I encourage all the citizens of the Valley to come down to Brownsville and start using our beautiful facility. We have the nicest facility in the Valley. We have a brand new airport, and we have a wonderful, wonderful airline. So again, if you live in the Valley, Upper Valley, Lower Valley, if you work here, if you're going to take your employees somewhere, consider Brownsville. And I guarantee you, it's just going to grow exponentially. That's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next, we have consent agenda items 1 through 19.
Mayor and Commission, I do believe we need to remove from consent item 13 and 14.
All right, I'd like to entertain a motion to approve items,
I'll move to approve 1 through 12 and 15 through 19.
Second.
What, I'm sorry, could we have a special agenda
Oh, that's,
language?
do we have that language on the slide?
Yes.
Thank you. I move to approve the consent agenda items 1 through 12 and 15 through 19, including moving that the property tax rate be increased by the adoption of a tax rate of 0.607987, which is effectively a 10.7% increase in the tax rate.
all right, we have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? If not, all those in favor, please say aye.
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 All those opposed, say
We
nay.
kindly need a roll call from everyone, please.
We'll need a roll call then.
Aye.
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 Rose?
Aye.
Aye.
Ayes have it, motion carries.
Thank you. Next, we have a public hearing number
No, we
4.
got 13 and 14.
We've still got the two we pulled.
Going back to item 3.
Do I need to step out for 13?
You don't have to step out, but you can just abstain.
I'll abstain on 13. Okay. Anybody?
I'll move to approve item 13.
Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? If not, all
For the
those in
record,
favor-
Commissioner Cardenas is abstaining.
all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, say nay. Ayes have it, motion carries.
And on item 14, I asked to pull this out because there's one correction I want to make, and that has to do with quorum. And that should be reworded to indicate that a majority of the voting members will constitute a quorum for conducting business.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Not all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, say nay. Ayes have it, motion carries. Thank you.
Next, we have public hearing number 1. Public hearing and action on first reading on ordinance number 235-2023-019 to rezone from residential estate to commercial corridor to allow the expansion of an existing medical office for Lot 12, Jose Almaraz subdivision, Cameron County, Texas, located at 3125 West Altenglor Boulevard, Brownsville, Texas, as shown in Exhibit 8, District 4. This item was tabled from August the 15th, 2023.
Good evening, Mayor, Commissioners. As mentioned, this item was presented at the previous City Commission meeting and it was tabled. The request is to rezone the property from residential estate to commercial corridor for the proposed expansion of an existing medical office. This property is fronting West Altenglor Boulevard. This is the 200-foot buffer map. There were 15 mail-outs and 0 written opposition. This is the zoning map. What predominates in the area is residential estate and residential single family. There is commercial corridor to the east and the west. This is an air review. And just to point out, we did collaborate with the engineering department. They did go out there to assess the situation. We did get with the developer. They provided the adequate plans that they were reviewed by engineering to show that the elevation of the property was going to be draining to the front of the property towards Altenglor. Therefore, the concerned citizens shouldn't be facing any troubles from the development of this property.
And before we continue with discussion, we do have to remove the item from the table.
I'll move to take this item from the table.
All right, we have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Not all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, say nay. Ayes have it. Item removed from the table.
I have a question.
Yes, Commissioner.
Martin, so you're saying it should be okay, or in other words, their problem is not going to be any worse because of this, correct?
That is correct, Commissioner.
And what is the process when something like this happens? After, I don't know, a certain period of time, do you guys go back and check again, or this is it?
It is my understanding that there would be a checkup in the future from the engineering department. And also, there would be brainstorming as to see what can be done in the area in general, because Tandy does not have connections to sewer.
Okay. And I would, Helen, I would like to have an update at some point in the near future about what can be done in that area, because I know the area is affected, not just that one person that came to complain.
Okay, we'll do that. Sure. Thank you.
This is a public hearing. If there's anyone here that wishes to speak on this item, may come forward this time.
I'll move to close the public hearing.
We have a motion to close. Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Not all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say nay. Ayes have it. Public hearing closed. I'll entertain a motion on this item.
I'll move to approve.
All right, we have a motion to approve. Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion?
I did. I just have, did anybody contact the resident? Yes.
So, I spoke with our Doro, I don't know if you're on. The staff did speak to the resident, the property owner did meet with them and explain the process. I think not everybody's familiar with the process. I mean, Carlos, you want to say what engagement you did?
Yes, we did. I actually spoke to her today, and we're going to try to meet with her later this week and just trying to get a feel for what's affecting that whole tiny road neighborhood. See what we can solve it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say nay. Ayes have it. Motion carries.
Thank you.
Next, we have public hearing number 2, public hearing in action to authorize the City of Brownsville Police Department to apply for fiscal year 2023 Edward Bryan Memorial Justice Assistant Grant Program application number GRANT 139-39013 in the amount of $79,621 as budgeted.
Mayor, City Commission, I'm Commander James Pascal. This item is a public hearing in action to authorize the City of Brownsville Police Department to apply for the fiscal 2023 Justice Assistance Grant. During the consent agenda items, the Commission approved the interlocal agreement between the City of Brownsville and Cameron County regarding this grant, commonly known as under the acronym JAG grant. Just a brief history, the JAG grant, which started in 2005, provides states, government agencies, and local governments with $1.2 million of federal funding for fiscal 2023, addressing law enforcement needs. The City of Brownsville has participated in this grant for the past 18 years. The total grant amount is $79,621. We are requesting Commission approval to apply for this grant. The Brownsville Police Department will be using its funding for computer-related equipment for the Special Investigations Unit. Cameron County will be using its funding to purchase computers and law enforcement-related equipment. This includes 6 ballistic helmets for the park rangers and 8 body armor vests for Constable Precinct 2. This is a public hearing.
All right, this is a public hearing. Is there anyone here that wishes to speak on this item? I'll entertain a motion to close public hearing.
I move to close.
All right, we have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Not all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say nay. Ayes have it. Public hearing now closed.
Move to approve.
We have a motion to approve. Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Not all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say nay. Ayes have it. Motion carries.
Thank you.
Next, we have items for individual consideration and action for acceptance of the Texas Water Development Board Flood Infrastructure Fund Category 1 Project 424, Brownsville to Port Isabel Hydraulic Unit Code 10 Watershed Study as presented with allowance for any insubstantial edits requested by TWDB during the finalization process.
Honorable Mayor, Commissioners, good evening. My name is Carlos Lastra with the Engineering and Public Works Department. And today we have Mr. Ryan Landine, an engineer with Half Associates, who will be presenting on the Texas Water Development Board Flood Infrastructure Fund project. Ryan?
Can I control it from this? Thank you for allowing us to present on this. Again, my name is Ryan Landine with Half Associates. I'm actually, you probably don't recognize me, I'm actually from Houston, but I do like to frequent Brownsville because of good food. I love the tacos down here, so always a pleasure to come and be down here. But I'm not working on this project alone. I'm working with Ann Wicko and John Clint, who y'all may know, and then several of our staff in the Valley region have been helping and have been a tremendous help to me in developing this project. So this is a flood infrastructure fund study. This is provided by the Texas Water Development Board. As you know, the city of Brownsville is in partnership with the Development Board and is the sponsor for this project. So just kind of talk about the goals of the study. You know, a big question that I get is, why do we do these studies? Why do we pay these engineers to do all this planning? Why don't we just dig a bunch of ditches to the Gulf? But obviously resources are limited, and we don't have the ability to just dig ditches everywhere. So we have to be strategic. And what we plan to do with these studies is to get a really good understanding of the flood risk that is in your community and the communities around your area, to help come up with a plan that strategically solves or reduces flooding. And so what we do is we develop hydrologic and hydraulic models to help us better understand or better estimate what the flood risk is in your community. We develop projects to reduce flooding, and then come up with a implementation plan to help you as a community strategize and come up with a plan to go after grant funding to help implement these projects. These projects are not cheap, and often you can't do it on your own dime. And so we have to get assistance from from the federal or from state government to help provide funding for these projects. But they also want to know that you've done your homework and that these projects are a real issue for or these flooding issues are a real issue for your community, and that the projects make sense. So we do these studies to help kind of give them some sense of confidence that these projects will be successful when implemented. And so if you look, most grant applications have this list of requirements for each project, such as, does this project, is it going to cause impacts to other communities if it's developed, or what are the costs and what are the benefits, and is it a solution? So this plan is to do all that work, get all that information, so that whenever funding does become available from the federal or state level, you have a document that says, yes, we have projects, yes, we have a need, and we have a plan for it. Please assist us. And so that's the intent of the study. And we're going to kind of go through some of the results through this presentation of this study. So this is the study area. You can see Cameron County in yellow. So the study area is a 366 square mile watershed. So the way the Texas Water Development Board breaks up its studies is by watersheds, not necessarily by geopolitical boundaries. Rainfall doesn't really follow geopolitical boundaries. So you can see that, yes, City of Brownsville is a major player here in the study and probably the biggest stakeholder. They also are the sponsor. You are the sponsor. But there's other stakeholders involved. There's other communities that we also did an evaluation for to better understand their flood risk and come up with projects for them as well. And those are listed there under the major stockholders column. So what we did, like I had mentioned, we had developed a hydraulic model. This image is associated with the video, but for the sake of this presentation, we're just kind of showing a picture for demonstration. What the model is the latest modeling software, flood software, using the latest data. So the latest rainfall, latest topography, latest land use, using the latest 2D hydraulic modeling. Basically, it's the latest and greatest for what you can do with flood modeling. And we have developed a model for the entire region, including Brownsville, that captures both riverine flooding and urban flooding. And so this information is going to be provided to city staff, and they can use this to help them make better decisions on whether it's new development coming through or someone wanting to know what are the flood levels in your community or in their site. This modeling information will be made available to them to help them make better informed decisions in their job. As a result of that modeling, what we did is we went and, like I said, we can't solve everyone's flooding issues. So what we tried to do is find those areas with the highest flood risk. And so we took structural information provided by the Texas Water Development Board. We intersected that. So that's houses and commercial buildings, where those buildings are located, and the population density for the region. We intersected that information with our modeling results to determine where are the most densely populated areas with the highest flood risk. So that's structure. So you can see here what this is showing. The yellow kind of blobs are the areas where there's the highest risk of flooding, according to our models. And so we focused our attention and efforts to providing flood mitigation projects to help reduce flooding in those most sensitive areas. And as a result, we've developed 10 flood mitigation projects, like I said, to focus on reducing flood risk in those areas. We're not solving flooding, but we are dramatically reducing the amount of how often these structures flood and how severe the flooding will be in an extreme event. But with great benefit comes great cost. And so we do have high capital costs with a lot of these projects. Again, the intent is to provide these projects to the federal and state legislatures and organizations that help develop and give out flood mitigation grants, and ask for their assistance for helping y'all solve some of the bigger problems that y'all have. And in the report that is provided, we go into much greater detail on the specifics of these projects. I will just mention these are still planning level, and I'll kind of get into what that means, but these are just planning level projects. The cost may change, the level of benefit may change as a project goes through the development cycle. So drainage project life cycle, you can see here, we start out with planning our project, and so we've completed that with this study. We're done with the planning. The next phase of a project lifespan, of life cycle, is to go look for available funding. So that's going out and looking at state and federal funding opportunities and matching that with these projects. And we've kind of already started doing that to an extent, but some of the funding is not available. So this is something that HAF associates and city staff will be working with each other to help identify, okay, these are our projects we developed. Here's a bucket of money coming from the Flood Infrastructure Fund that this project could be applicable for, and we would make recommendations to apply for it. So the first step is to go identify funding for each project. And then additional design needs to take place. We need to kind of get into the nitty gritty, into the weeds, and identify what's underground, utilities, what kind of land purchases do we need to do, just really getting into design and developing construction drawings for these projects. After that, we should get get the funding made available after we get through that phase, and we'll get into land acquisition, construction, and finalization of the project, which then goes into operations and maintenance. So again, we're just finishing up planning. The short-term action of the city and city staff is to look for funding opportunities for these projects and begin design. We did list some other short-term actions that the city and communities could take. One is adding additional flood gauges within your community. Recently, many rain gauges and flood gauges have been added to the city of Brownsville, and that made our job tremendously easier. It made our models much more accurate. We have points of calibration. We weren't just making models up in the ether. We actually have real life data that we got to model against to make sure our models were reflecting reality. So the more gauges that we have, the better our models can be and the better informed y'all can be on those flood risks. Additionally, with gauges, it helps your emergency service responders to understand which roads are closed, because oftentimes you put these gauges at bridges or areas that are prone to flooding. These gauges will give them information and help them make better informed decisions about where things are flooding in real time. So that was one of the recommendations we made. And then finally, another short-term action is always stay on top of your drainage criteria. The best way to mitigate flood risk is to put things in place now that help with reducing future flood risk due to changes in drainage infrastructure and development. And we always push to make sure that your criteria is up to date and reflects the latest trends and industry standards. Long-term actions is actually develop these projects. So after you identify funding and develop these plans, long-term action is to construct and maintain these projects so that you can see real benefit from these projects. One of the big things that has been happening in the flood world for Texas is Texas has put out or is developing its first state flood plan, which is very similar to its water plan. And what this does is they've went through the entire state and identified the areas with the highest flood risk and and projects and needs that communities have with regards to flood risk. And they just completed the amendment. It's being sent to the Texas legislature on September 1st of 2024. The projects developed with this plan have been included in the state flood plan. And so these projects will be presented to the state legislature and to the Texas Water Development Board, indicating that yes, these are needs for the city of Brownsville and that they're eligible for future grant funding. So I just wanted to point out that for any future flood mitigation projects, it's going to be vital that that information gets included in future flood planning cycles. I'd also encourage communities and community staff to continually be engaged with their local state flood planning groups so that they can continually be apprised of funding opportunities that are becoming made available, and to also inform those groups that they have flood needs and they would like to request the help of the state legislature. And so the region, the state flood plan region that covers the city of Brownsville is Region 15, and I put the website on the slide there so you can visit the website, and there's a lot of information there for people to get engaged with this first flood planning cycle. And this will be a continual thing. They'll be revising the flood plan every 5 years, so it's always good to keep apprised of what's going on in the flood and with the flood plan. And I was asked to keep it kind of short. I'm also willing to open it up to questions, kind of let y'all ask me if anything. We also will provide the report for y'all if y'all want to get into the weeds on it as well. But I do thank you for your time and appreciate giving us the opportunity to provide the service to the city of Brownsville and to help citizens of Brownsville to understand what their flood risk is and provide a way to help mitigate that. So, is there any questions?
We're respectfully requesting acceptance of the report.
Any questions or comments? All right, I'll entertain a motion.
Move to approve.
Motion. Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Not all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say nay. Ayes have it. Motion carries. Thank you, guys. Appreciate it.
Thank you, appreciate it.
Item number 2, consideration action to authorize the city manager to negotiate and execute documents to purchase real property located at 1526 and 1534 East Jackson Street for Phase 2 of the Jackson Street Neighborhood Stabilization Project in the amount of $150,000 as budgeted.
Good evening, Mayor, Commissioners. The proposed project that we want to develop is to supply affordable housing while fighting gentrification, and on the other hand, to develop preservation, projects that could avoid removal or slum and blight at the same time. It all started a couple of years ago, and it was completed the last year. CDCB bought these 6 structures, 8 units. The previous property owner was wishing to demolish it, and finally CDCB, by entering into the project, they preserved these structures, and the city of Brownsville agreed to cover some costs of preservation features. You can see here the slides of the previous, how the houses show before the rehab and after. And the next slide shows you, this is quite interesting, shows the improvement or the increase suffered on the buildings. And you can see that it was increased by 134% of the price value. This slide shows exactly the project on pink. You would see the previous phase, and there are 2 others that are to the left This one is 1534 is Jackson Street, and to the left is 1526. So what is the clue of this proposal is that there's a seller, there's an owner willing to sell, and we as buyers, we have already allocated that sum. You approved it recently, so the money is there. So it's right now is a very good moment to go into this project. Naturally, we will be more than happy to engage with CDSB for a project or construction or property management. These are the houses that are located just next to the others. So it's really an extension of the previous project. So we would be able to showcase a little bit more of that same portion of the street. That's why we are recommending that you could authorize to the city manager to purchase these properties. Thank you.
Any questions or comments from the commission? I'll entertain a motion to approve. Move to approve.
Second.
We have a motion to approve and a second. Any further discussion? If not, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say nay. Ayes have it, motion carries.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Next item, consideration and action to approve the Brownsville Community Improvement Corporation fiscal year 2024 budget.
Hi, good evening, Honorable Mayor, Commissioners. It's a pleasure to be here tonight to present our 2024 proposed budget. So our proposed sales revenue is a 5.5% increase from 2023. Revenues also include our interest rates at a conservative point, as well as our income from our revolving loan. And so that equals a little bit over $6.7 million in revenue. For our expense summary, we have $13 million in expenses. This includes our programming, which is 51% of our itemized expenses. Our debt service accounts for 28%, and our BCIC, eBridge, and city contracts is another 21%. So over the years, we have developed and fine-tuned our programs to gain the maximum amount of economic impact for our community and bring new money into the city. Our current 7 strategic initiatives are aligned to focus on quality of life projects, downtown revitalization, entrepreneurship programming, and small business finance programs. These initiatives and programs help shape BCIC's economic development role we serve and align our current strategic plan. I'm going to go over just a few of our goals for the next 12 months to help explain our budget. We'll be issuing out an RFP by the end of this month to develop a 5-year strategic plan that will provide a clear roadmap that will assist in outlining actionable goals, initiatives, and prioritize our unrestricted funds with measurable outcomes. We have budgeted about $100,000 out of our discretionary planning. Our 1.8 operation budget includes adding additional staff with benefits to accommodate our programs and operational needs. 2 of these positions include a facility manager at eBridge and a COO to assist me in overseeing our staff and admin and operations. The budget also includes adding new computers or replacing the computers that have past this lifespan, marketing, advertising efforts, legal counsel services, and professional membership dues. So we are also, our goal is to seek additional funding sources, partnerships, and collaborations to support our current and expansion of programs. We have budgeted about $500,000 for our grant match to allow us to be competitive. We're also pursuing sponsorships from our private sector to subsidize our operating and program expenses. So our eBridge operation, we are still seeking funding sources to start and complete our phase 2, which includes the upstairs prototyping lab, which we coined as Blueprint Lab, and our Tier 1 data center. The Blueprint Lab intent is to remove a barrier and help inventors and innovators to go from ideal to prototyping. Additionally, we'll be strengthening our partnerships and creating new ones by targeting K through 12 to able to utilize our resources and programs to enhance the curriculum. The $370,000 budget includes utilities, our professional services like IT for the center, security, parking permits, event hosting, and preventable maintenance. We also are pursuing sponsorships for the private sector to subsidize also the operating expenses of this. For our community development programs, we have $2 million in our budget for our quality of life projects. This program provides opportunity for financial support towards projects that create an attractive environment for Brownsville. Funding assistance includes our placemakers, our tourist attractions, projects to allow them to expand or create new services, enhance and improve our green spaces, parks, trails, and assist with planning services to prioritize future funding. We have projects that are in the pipeline but they're still under funding review. Just waiting for hard numbers on that. But before we can present to the BCIC board and then to the city commissioner for final approval. I have also met with the city to see how BCIC funds can be plugged in to meet the city's needs with type B funding. We can do a call for project to allow it to be equitable and exclusive for all to apply for the opportunity. Our Business Improvement and Growth Program, which we coined BIG, is a nationally recognized award-winning program that provides financial incentives for rehabilitation and reuse of commercial downtown properties. Since 2019, BCIC has invested over $2.8 million in the BIG program, yielding $25.6 million in private investments. That has contributed to the dynamic momentum that we have been experiencing for downtown. BIG has to facilitate the preservation and activation of 33 historic significant properties in our historic district. And out of those 33, 22 are still open and we should be completed by late spring of next year. Our budget includes $1 million to further our efforts and leverage the BIG funds to strategically target anchor buildings and businesses to continue the momentum and diversify the downtown experience. For the sports part, our budget includes $500,000 for the maintenance and operations of the park, and we are working with the city to find solutions to reduce the expenditure and find ways to generate additional revenue. The debt service is budgeted at $3.3 million, and that is to pay off our debt service. So it will allow us to unencumber the debt and remove all the restrictions to develop the undeveloped parcels of the land. So ideally, we want to, the undeveloped areas of the land, we want to develop that so it can help support the sports park as well as support all the growth that's happening in that area. So we want to go for a mixed-use study and a developer solicitation RFP so we can look at the feasibility and financial for the market for that area. Okay. So for our entrepreneurial and innovation programs, we have our Startup Texas, our seed fund that is invested in early stage companies. Our goal is to foster a scalable business and provide entrepreneurs in our community the chance to access capital and commercialize their products or services. Brownsville was founded by entrepreneurs, and we wish to continue and foster the same spirit in our community. This will be our 5th year with this initiative, and we have to, this is our 5th year in the initiative. And with that, we are lucky enough, we have new partnerships with Texas A&M, and we've been awarded $330,000 for over the next 3 years to create a SBIR program through our Startup Texas to encourage local entrepreneurs to engage in federal research and development. Additionally, our goal is to assist over 60 small businesses. Last year, or this current year, we have done, bless you, we have done 60 businesses. So to assist 90 small businesses, legacy business, and startups to provide the tools, resources, and mentorship to create their business started, finance, or scale up. And we have budgeted for our entrepreneurship $910,000 overall. Our Border to Sea is our local and dining local campaign. We're going to be adding to enhance our Border to Sea experience. We're going to be adding a website so that way currently we're just using social media platforms, but we need a landing page for all of the businesses that we have showcased. So we want to create a website and adding more spotlights to that and creating more of an interactive blog post to promote our one-of-a-kind businesses that make Brownsville stand out and encourage to stay local. And then we have our finance programs. Our eBridge Fund is our revolving loan, and we're the only one in the Rio Grande Valley to be doing the revolving loan program. As entrepreneurs and small business owners make payments, we do redistribute those funds back into new loans, benefiting other entrepreneurs and small businesses who want to grow or scale their business. So far, we have exhausted $2 million that we received from the EDA loan, or I should say EDA grant, not loan. And we are now in the revolving loan stage of the program. So that means any of the loan payments that we receive is recirculating back into the community. So we have budgeted $700,000 into that program to continue the program's effectiveness. We're also seeking an additional funding source so we can create another small business finance program, a micro lending, so to speak. We have placed a grant match up to $500K out of our discretionary so we can be competitive on that. And we're looking at like how we can be like, go for an SBA grant so we can be like competitive with your People's Fund, Lenders Fund, and all that. And then we have our Small Business Recovery Fund. That's our second grant from the CDBG fund. So far, we just started it this late spring, so we have funded 8 businesses. So our goal is to fund at least 30 additional businesses. So we have a availability of $500,000 towards that grant. So overall, I wanted to kind of explain how our fund balance works out. We have our revenues, we have our expenditures, and our beginning fund balance is the 15 million point two that's in our bank, and that includes our operating costs, our unrestricted, and our rainy day. Our rainy day is currently at 2.5 million, and we want to add 500,000 to that so we can be at actually 180 days, 6 months of operation if anything should happen to the city. So it's a good set mind to have that set aside. So that would be up to $3 million. So our unrestricted fund balance is 5.8 currently. And what we would like to do is use that funds after we have our strategic plan in place. So we have that plan, prioritize the funding capabilities and what projects are the low-hanging fruits, the ones that are long-term but has the most impact. So we want to be strategic on that $5.8 million. And I anticipate we should have that strategic plan within the next 6 months. So we should know where we can put that. And if needed, then we can always come back. If we have projects already in the pipeline, we can always come back to amend the budget. But like always, all of our projects are vetted through BCIC. We do a 60-day comment period and host a public hearing, and then we do a final approval with the city commission for those projects. So this is just a breakdown of the expenses, including our operation expenses for BCIC. So if y'all have any questions.
I have questions, Mayor.
Yes, go ahead.
So Corey, BCIC was created in order to produce quality of life projects. The voters went to the polls in 2002, if I'm not mistaken, to vote on quality of life as opposed to economic development, which already existed in 4A. The voters did not go to the polls to vote for a second economic development engine. That was created by a certain director and different board members through time. And what happened, much to my chagrin, is that quality of life got squeezed out and economic development rules. I read your presentation that you just made. Thank you very much for that. And I counted at least 6, if not more, economic development projects, meaning big, and the entrepreneur this and the startup Texas that. And I'm not going to sit here and tell you they're bad projects, but I am going to tell you there's 6 or whatever that number was And this is the first time in many years you've even included the word quality of life or a fund for quality of life in your presentation or your budget in terms of a line item. And you can't even do that because you've listed the box that I read said quality of life economic impact fund. So, there can be and is quality of life that is not economic development. Quality of life is not better quality of life just because it also has an economic impact portion. So it's a bit upsetting, demeaning to the focus of quality of life for which you were created to hinge it on, okay, fine, we'll give you some money for quality of life, but it also has to be economic development. That's not why you were created. That was not your mission. It is not why the voters went to create 4B in 2002.
And that's why, I'm sorry, go ahead.
I wasn't finished. So the term and the fund and the bucket needs to delete economic impact fund or economic fund impact. I forget the wording that you use. And that pendulum needs to spring or swing back more evenly into the same number of energy efficiency efforts and projects that fund quality of life as they do economic development. The same. Quality of life is not the poor stepchild.
No.
That needs to be even. So I do not support the way that you presented it. My second comment is that in your ring of how you divide, which is different than the ring that was in the packet, you list administrative expenses as 14%, but it's actually closer to 30% if I did the math correctly. And it's a quite high administrative expense. And you mentioned at one point hiring more staff. So I do have questions about that as well.
Okay. Regards to the economic impact from our previous, well, we're in our current strategic plan that was done in 2020. So that's why we are going for a new strategic plan. So that way it can be more balanced. And so it hasn't been changed to be more reflective of quality of life, but it is our quality of life just because of the branding and the branding we want to change and change into. So it's reflected on the true purpose of that what is coined as economic impact grant to be rebranded to what the purpose of is the quality of life, because it's misconstrued because of the name economic impact. And that's not the intent of it. So that's one thing that we plan to do to change it. And that's just from what this, our past, my predecessors in our strategic plan. So that's why we're trying to change. For the administration budget, I know it's 27% of the revenues is that, and our hopes is, we can find funding that will subsidize our budget. But it is important to add those other positions because we have been shortchanging ourselves with our programs because we don't have the right staffing to get those programs initiated and out quick enough.
Well, you've certainly shortchanged quality of life. I agree with that. And you don't need a strategic plan to tell you to do quality of life. The voters told you to do that in 2002. And if I remember correctly, it passed in a majority, not a narrow margin for that vote. So I would like to see more money devoted to quality of life, unaccompanied by any restrictions of economic development, and a correct, transparent reflection of your administrative expense percentage. And I'll let someone else comment.
So I also share the same comments as Ms. Gowen. I would like to see more quality of life projects done. I think that's something that we've already talked about. And I like seeing that on this budget, we have money, 2 million into that portion. So like that, when there's projects from the Children's Museum or the Medicultural District, or we have the zoo coming in, they will have that opportunity to get a grant in that aspect. So with that being said, and after reviewing the budget and take into consideration that there'll be funds coming in from the following year, I would like to see an increase on that quality of life section. And I don't know, Will, if we could amend or suggest through here?
Yes, you could.
You mentioned also that there would be a study for the year, and then depending on that study, you can go back to amend or?
Yeah, the plan, what we would like to do is for that $2 million, that's for the quality of life. We do a call for projects. So we allow people to apply so it can be equitable and exclusive for everybody. And then, you know, depending on what is being submitted, then the board, BCIC board can relook at that and see if we have enough funds available to meet those needs, those projects that have come through. And if not, they can amend it. We come to the city commission to amend our budget as well as that's the time they would approve those projects. Ideally, we would like to we'd like that unrestricted fund balance until we get the strategic plan in place. So that way we have this plan, we have it prioritized of what are those funding projects, those projects that are low hanging fruits that we could, you know, help and have immediate economic impact for them. I'm sorry, I say economic impact, immediate impact, as well as what are the long-term projects that need that assistance throughout the whole time, like the expansion of the zoo, for instance. I mean, that's over $30 million. So how can we prioritize our funding to assist with that if that's what the board wants to do in the city commission? The whole idea for the strategic plan is to engage the community, the stakeholders in the city to find out what is our role and what is our role for those unrestricted funds and how we can impact that.
When do you anticipate the study being done?
We have the RFP going out by the end of this month. We should have it then within 30 days of that, and then we initiate. So I anticipate by February of next year, we should have our strategic plan.
And even
So
if
if
there
you-
were to,
Go ahead, Linda. No, Linda, finish.
so even if there were to be an increase, let's say today, we know we amend to increase that quality of life percentage, it could always roll over to the study.
Yeah, I
Yeah?
mean, it can roll over. That's the pot it will come out of, the $2 million.
Okay.
Or if you decide to increase
So
it.
it wouldn't hurt to increase it today, because either or, it will be increased whether.
It won't
that
hurt to
study-
increase it today or increase it when we get that call of projects and we get all those applications in and then we vet them. And then to look to see, do we have enough funds and do we need to amend it? It's either way.
Okay.
It's just one less step of BCIC coming to the commission for an amended budget mid-year.
So if you want to wait, you're saying you want to wait for the strategic plan to amend the quality of life amount. You didn't have any problem increasing the big amount and additional staff that you need for the economic programs that you administer. What makes you want to wait for quality of life?
We're not waiting for the quality of life. We are going to initiate that for that 2 million. What I was explaining is if she wants to amend it, we can always amend it if we get the applications in and it far exceeds the 2 million, then we can amend the budget or we can amend it now for those projects that come in.
Any other questions?
I just have a couple of questions, and maybe not just for Corey, but Helen or someone. I'm always gonna be the new guy that needs to ask questions, just to get to know how things are working. What is the current Brownsville Sports Park management structure?
The sports park is managed through our Parks and Rec department. So they have we're recruiting for a sports parks manager, but then you have maintenance staff, and then you have one administrative staff person. So it's very small. Actually, I just met with them last week. So there is mostly maintenance crews. I think that's the majority because we have a lot of facilities to maintain. But however, there's a manager that we're recruiting for, and then there's admin, and then there's plenty of maintenance staff. We can get that for you.
Okay, yeah, no, I
Yeah.
just, I used to be on BCIC. I don't even remember, 8 years ago. And I do know that, it was kind of unique, right? Like BCIC and the city front the bill, and then a BSP staff manages BSP, but
Yeah,
yet they report to Parks and Rec. Is that? kind
We
of
have
still
an
similar?
agreement with the city, so the city, we provide a amount of money for maintenance and operations, but the city has also the developed portions of the land, which is all the facilities, are part of the city's umbrella, or will be, because we are in the process of finalizing the deed for that transfer.
Basically, the city maintains it
Yeah.
through our maintenance and operations agreement. The BCAC historically would contribute more. I would say prior to 2019, they probably contributed up to from $1 million to $750,000 to help subsidize it and maintain it. That has been reduced down, and I think they've maintained más o menos the same amount, 500,000, at the request of the city, given that it takes a lot of, people power to maintain that site. So it's 500,000, I think, is what they budgeted this year, with the intent that there would be some sort of master plan on this site. And also from the city side, also looking at,
The city
revenues.
also, the city also puts in the other 500,000,
yeah, or more than that.
more than that.
We want to stop kicking that can down the road, so we want to find solutions to the.
Something. I'm
Ordinance, yeah.
asking just because I have Corey here and you guys here, and I would love to help in any capacity possible there. I was there this past Sunday, and it doesn't look too good, right? The big grants that you all have developed, how do you measure improvement and growth?
We measure improvement and growth by how they utilize our funds, the impact for what they're putting in for their private investments.
Correct.
That was
But I'm
one.
saying, how do you measure the impact?
And then also, how many jobs are created by that? And what is it bringing diversity? Does it, we look at if it's at a corner property of a block, ideally and normally, if you do a corner of the building, that actually is a momentum to spur more development in that block. So we want to look at how we can strategically target businesses to occupy, those corner buildings. The reason the money is it's at 1 million is, these buildings unfortunately cost a lot of money to rehab, and a lot of them are not up to code. They are not ADA, electrical, plumbing. And it's just, and also if you look at the historic elements that you want to keep, then it's a costly investment. Another thing that we can look at is how they use that funds to get for their historic sales tax, federal and state historic sales tax on that impact. We don't have that yet because a lot of these projects are still, in progress.
Those are the questions.
I just have a couple of comments. I know, obviously we've all inherited this sports park as kind of an albatross project that ballooned from a $8 million
30.
to over $30 million project that you guys took on and finished and now help with the operations. And I think now that you guys are paying off the bonds, which I think is the right move, we need to figure out together, how do we move forward and support our park system in a real way? Like Commissioner Gowan said, right? This is, I think the city's coming to BCIC and saying, hey, we need help. We all work for the same people, which are the residents, and we want to be equitable. And I think having a really great park system is a goal of mine, and I know Commissioner Gowan's. And we need to figure out how to do it the right way and the most effective way. And I do applaud you guys for being innovative. You guys have done a lot on the economic development side. I think that you think outside the box. You bring a lot to the table when it comes to helping the little guy get off the ground. And I think that's very admirable. But I think also when we're talking about being equitable, right?
Yeah.
We should be serving our community in a broader way when it comes to our projects and not lose sight of that, right? And I think it's hard to do because you get, you have a lot of momentum in the economic development space, right? And I think that's something to be very proud of. But I think, we just want to make sure we have that line of communication where we say, hey, we need help with our park system, and how can you guys help us here?
So Helen and I, we actually had a meeting this afternoon to talk about, how we can plug in, the quality of life type B funds. And we talked about the comprehensive plan for the parks, the master plan for the parks, a comprehensive plan for downtown, as well as, what improvements and expansions and future projects, we can consider and plug us in.
I mean, there's a lot. I just want to last comment. It's not a question, just on the record, right? One of my biggest, what I would love to see, and I don't know where this comes, but I spent a little bit of my day on Sunday there, or Saturday. I was Saturday at the sports park because the Brownsville Cowboys were playing, and they asked to rent St. Joseph Academy because they believe that we have a better field than even the turf field at the sports park. And we had a death on our campus, and we could not accommodate them, so they rented the sports park. And I know them well. They rent from me a lot at the school. So anyway, I went out there, and you have a bunch of fields, and they're not being utilized. Whether they're because people don't want to rent it. I wouldn't want to rent it, just like the Cowboys. If you ask me to rent it, I think it's a heavy price tag for a subpar field. That turf that was installed now has actual grass growing through it, right? There's areas in the turf that do have grass growing. I'll take pictures, Damaris, if you want, because I see you shaking your head, but I walked it myself. I touched it with my hand. There's just much need for our kids to travel to McAllen, and I just think that should be filled with kids, and whether they pay or not, right? Like, we have so many community members that are dying just to have their kids exercise, use the fields, and so I think that's the sentiment from my angle, from a sports angle. But I think Commissioner Gowan, I do agree with her on the fact that as you are innovative, and with the mayor's comments from economic development, we have to also work to improve just the lifestyle of us.
Yeah, the
and
play.
to be healthy and happy. And sometimes that doesn't come with economic impact. It just comes with doing good. So anyway, those were my.
Thank you so much, Corey, for being here, for presenting to us the budget. We do have a lot of projects coming into Brownsville. It's a very exciting time to be in Brownsville. We have CDCB doing a grocery store in downtown. We have the expansion of the Children's Museum. We have the expansion of the zoo coming up. So it definitely will not hurt to increase the monies. Let's move our city together. Therefore, I move to.
Excuse me, Commissioner, I haven't had a chance to speak yet.
Sorry.
And I'll start with, I think this is the wrong time to be amending the budget because we've got a strategic plan that needs to be developed by the people we've appointed to run BCIC and through community involvement. More importantly, I agree that we do need to look at how we increase the money that we put into quality of life. No doubt about that. However, I think it's important, I want to say for the record, my view is that when we're talking about a quality of life project, that to me is new trails. That to me is new parks. That to me is putting a park in an area of town that doesn't have access to one today. That should not be about, we can't afford to cut the grass because we've taken on more than we can chew. We should not have BCIC subsidizing just regular maintenance and operations. If we're talking about a quality of life project, Let's really do something that's new and impactful, not just say we need to pay to keep the lights on or pay to keep the grass cut. That's what I look at when I'm thinking about quality of life projects for the future for the city.
Any other comments or questions? I'll entertain a motion here.
I'll move to approve.
All right, we have a motion. We have a second.
Well, actually, I wanted to increase the quality of life pocket.
Then if there's not a second, my motion will die for lack of a second, but my motion stands as stated.
Okay. Do I make my motion or how?
We have a motion on the table, so we'd have to have a vote to see if it passes or
Yeah,
fails.
It hasn't been seconded, though.
Do we have a second?
I'll second.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? If not, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Nay.
All those opposed, nay.
Nay.
He's an aye. All right, I'm going to say nay.
So at this time, we can have a follow-up motion.
So I move to approve the budget as amended with an additional 1 million under the economic grant quality of life section.
From which section? It has to come from somewhere.
From the economic grant under unreserved funds.
Unrestricted.
Unrestricted funds.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion?
And just one, council will meet after the meeting for the concerns that I've expressed regarding this agenda item.
Will, make sure you speak to me as well because, okay.
Okay.
Aye. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Aye.
Everybody voting or yeah?
Yes,
All
aye.
opposed, say nay.
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 Ayes have it, motion carries.
Thank you all.
Next on the agenda are board appointments. Number one, consideration action on resolution number 2023-079-A to reappoint, appoint, or remove members of the Brownsville Beautification Committee.
Good evening, Honorable Mayor and City Commission. My name is Damaris McGlone. I'm the Parks and Recreation Director. And we are here to appoint one last member to the Brownsville Beautification Committee. And Commissioner De Los Santos, it was your appointment, and we were pending Elizabeth Scholl, and she did say yes, she was interested in.
And I will nominate Elizabeth Scholl.
Perfect.
All right, we have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? If not, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, say nay. Ayes have it, motion carries.
Thank you.
Next, we have executive session. Mayor, would you like to move to go into executive session?
I'll entertain a motion to enter executive session.
So moved.
We have a motion,
Second.
a second. Any further discussion? If not, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All
Aye.
those opposed, say nay. Ayes have it.
It is now 6:39. We'll be going to executive sessions. Item to be discussed is item number one, closed session pursuant to Texas Government Code Sections 551.071, consultation with attorney, and 551.087, economic deliberation regarding Project Domino. Item number two, closed session pursuant to Texas Government Code Sections 551.071, consultation with attorney, and 551.087, economic deliberation regarding Project Explore. We will now go into executive session. It is now 7:27. We are back in regular session. The agenda item, possible action on any items as discussed in executive session.
No action on any items?
I'll move to adjourn.
There's a
Second.
motion and a second. Any further discussion? If not, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed say nay. Ayes have it, meeting adjourned. Thank you, everyone. Yeah, right?